Today we are making lamb shanks. Now I love a good braise, especially in the fall and the winter as the temperature starts to drop. It is a perfect comfort food. I love lamb shanks. I'm going to show you how to make them today. We're not going to waste any time. We're going right to the recipe. Let's go. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to season our lamb shanks. We've got avocado oil, salt, pepper. We're going to put them in the screaming hot pan. Let that caramelization start to happen. Again, this is the base level of flavor. Caramelization is going to give us a brown sauce and the deep dark flavor we're looking for. We're going to turn our lamb shanks as they cook. Lamb shanks are the lower portion of the lamb leg. So think of it like ossobuco, but way smaller. Now the lamb is a young animal, so it doesn't have so much built up toughness and connective tissue. But again, with the legs, it's walking around all day. That is the toughest part of the lamb. So we're gonna need to use a little bit of technique and a little bit of braising techniques to go ahead and make this super tender and shreddable. That's the best part of this dish, is the fact that it creates its own sauce and it just kind of melts. It melts in your mouth. Once all sides are brown, we're gonna pull out our lamb shanks and reserve those on a plate. Then we're going to add our onions and our carrots to the fat that's already in the pan. We're then going to take our lamb shanks, we'll put them in our pot that eventually is going to have our sauce in it. Then we're going to continue to caramelize the vegetables. This is a slower process, but we want to make sure we get nice browning on these vegetables. That's what's going to make our deep, dark, rich sauce. Add a little bit of garlic, continually cooking and stirring, getting that brownness, getting that deep, dark flavor. To add to it, we'll add a little bit of tomato paste. Again, this is going to add some flavor, but also some color. So we're going to saute that a little bit just to get that color going. And add a little bit of red wine. The troublemaker, that's me, I'm the troublemaker, so here we go. Reduce that wine by half, and then we're going to continue to stir. And stir. Add a little bit of beef broth, and we're going to bring that down a little bit too. We're going to reduce that so all those flavors meld together. Again, we're building layers of flavor. Then we will add all of the liquid and the veggies into the pot with our lamb shanks. We can add a little more broth to make sure we get to 3/4 of the way up of the meat and push it back into a low heat and let it do its thing. Let's talk braising. Now, braising is one of my favorite cooking techniques. It is a way to make tough cuts of meat just shreddable, delicious. It makes its own sauce. It is perfect. The procedure is simple. You're going to take your cut of meat and you're going to sear it in a hot pan. Then you're going to pull that out and then add your aromatics, onions, celery, garlic, whatever you want to do for that cut of meat. You're going to go ahead and caramelize all those veggies just so you can build those flavors. Braising is all about building layers of flavor. We have searing off the meat, that creates a level of flavor. Then we have browning and caramelizing the vegetables, another layer of flavor. Then we can add red wine. I love a good red wine braise, and let that reduce down. Then we add our stock, let that come down. Now we reintroduce the seared meat, covering 3/4 of the way up the meat. That's what makes braising different from stewing. The liquid will not totally submerge the meat. It'll only come about 3/4 of the way. Then we'll cover it and let it simmer for a long period of time. We're checking in on it, making sure that the levels of broth are correct. We can add more broth if we need to. And you just let time and heat do its thing. It will go ahead and penetrate into that meat, cook it, make it shreddable, and make some of these really tough cuts of meat very, very delicious. If the meat is on the bone, even better. It brings out the gelatin, it brings out the collagen, all the stuff in the bones, and it comes out into your sauce. After the meat is shreddable, then we take the meat out, We go ahead and strain the sauce, reduce it. We can thicken it if we need to. We have all kinds of options to make a beautiful sauce that goes over this braised meat. It just makes me feel warm and cozy and comfortable when I think about all the things we can do with the braising technique. So let's get back to the recipe. All right, this has now been simmering for 1 hour. So I took the lid off. Again, 1 hour, you can see the meat's already starting to pull away from the bone. So that's a good sign we're on our way. This is after 2 hours. So we have more meat pulling away from the bone. You can tell the meat is getting shreddable. It's pulling away from the bone. That's exactly what we were looking for. So at about 3 hours, we're going to take out our lamb shanks, put them on a plate, and reserve that for later. We are going to strain out our sauce. Now, this is important. We want to get all the solids out of there so that we can have a nice, luscious, thin sauce that's going to be delicious. We put the sauce back in the pan and let it continue to reduce and thicken. The collagen and the gelatin from the bones is going to thicken this sauce all on its own. And here we go. These are our lamb shanks, and man, do they look delicious. Super tender, super luxurious. We've taken a cut that's very cheap and very tough and made it into something that's so, so good. Ladle with some sauce, and we are on our way. All right, here we go. Lamb shanks, saucy, delicious. They cooked about 3.5 hours, and they just shred apart. Check this out. Just melts in your mouth. It's unbelievable. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Such great flavor. Lamb sometimes has that gamey flavor to it, but this does not at all. This, do you not taste any bit of a gamey flavor just because of the sauce that's with it and the amount of time it's been cooking. Man, this is so, so good. Go ahead. You guys got to try yourself some lamb shanks. You got to try some lamb shanks, definitely. Now, this bone is screaming to be eaten off the bone. And I said one time that if it's on a bone, we eat it on a bone. Yeah, let's do it. Little messy, but so good. Hey, we'll see you on the next one.